Welcome back to the show, everybody. Take a look at this. Bitcoin, $60,377. Come on in. Yeah, 1.1 trillion plus for a market cap right now for Bitcoin. 1.8 trillion for the entire crypto space. That is a landmark moment right there. Well, I tell you what, we got more landmark moments coming too. We're going to discuss the SEC Ripple case and a few points about that case that I think really have not been touched on to the degree that we need to ask, what if? Let's go ahead and roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradley above. And everything we're talking about here today, let me go ahead and click this panel because the Fiat Leak panel does not want to open up. But currently right now for the XRP price this morning, just to throw it out on the table so everybody knows, it is currently falling like a manhole cover from the sky. However, shout out to, it's coming back a little bit, but we're at 45 cents this morning, 0.4556 for XRP this morning. Nothing to be alarmed about. But BTC is over $60,000 as we talked about in the opener here. That is exciting for them. There's questions about the short and near term for BTC and more importantly, proof of work. And that's what we see here echoed from Monica Long. I made a comment that said proof of work has a day of reckoning coming. Don't believe it. It's still true. And I have to say, she makes a great point here. With stats like these, BTC energy consumption this year could equal all global data centers. Crypto market participants need to actively work together now to bring the green energy revolution. We can't just sit back and passively expect it to happen. What an excellent, excellent point by Monica Long. Shout out to her and everyone at Ripple. And it really is. And that's why I believe that we have this case to begin with against Ripple and SEC. You know, not many people really realize that it was Bitcoin, then Ripple, then Ethereum. Don't believe it. It's still true. Before we go any further, let me play that evidence for you right now from Greg Kidd in a great interview from Digital Asset Investor. Listen to this short little clip here where he says that plus another very important point here. Listen to this.
Is you obviously own equity in Ripple. Do you also own XRP?
I do have quite a stake in XRP. I actually optioned 1% of the currency back over 5 years ago. So I took a position on 1% of the entire float.
Okay, so there's the first piece, is he has an option on 1% of the entire float. So Greg Kidd owns an option of 1 billion XRP. Come on in, Greg. That's nice. All right. It's also an option, which makes it a contract. We'll talk about it in a second.
So yes, I would say I have some XRP.
Do you see the XRP in a similar manner as being the oil?
Well, I do. That's a good analogy. There's Ripple that has its business model, which is an alternative to correspondent banking, and SWIFT and the way money has worked between countries, each of which has their own silo. Ripple is a ledger that spans all the currencies. And so it's kind of hard to remember, but Ripple was the second digital currency after Bitcoin. And it was the first one that you actually knew who was behind it. I mean, we're all still searching for Satoshi.
And did you hear what he said? It was the first one that actually had people you knew who were behind it. A company behind this new tech, which is cryptocurrency. And more importantly, the underlying tech, which is protocols and payment networks, as Brian Brooks taught us.
With Ripple, you knew it was, Arthur Brito, Chris Larson, Jed McCaleb, David Schwartz. I mean, there were actual people you could go and see and meet and have a beer with. And so it was a company you could join. And yeah, they had their own oil. And at the time, it wasn't, when it started, it wasn't worth anything. Unlike ICOs, where they sold it to the public, the first gift of XRP was from its creators. They actually just gave Ripple 80% of it. So this was all pre-ICO, pre-Ether.
Pre-ICO moments, pre-Ether moments. He's recognizing that Ethereum did do an ICO fundraise. There's video of that you can watch as well from Digital Asset Investor too. And that brings us back to the case. And I'm going to go ahead and stop. Well, let me play this last couple seconds.
At the time, we knew it was, we didn't know whether it was oil or water, but it was liquid and it moved.
There we go. And so the point being is that I've said this before, and here is the evidence I believe that really supports what I've been saying here to a great degree, is that this is the first company behind the tech. So this is a company that has stocks, private equity that they offer. They do intend at some point in the near future to IPO. And they also offer a digital asset, which they see as a commodity and or currency. And this is where the rub hits the SEC, because they claim XRP is an unregistered security. Let's come back to the case itself. Remember, Greg just told you that he has a 1 billion XRP option contract. Excuse me. So the point is, if he has an option contract, that in itself is exactly that, an investment contract he has with Ripple on that option. Now, let's come back to the case for a second. All right. Now, I have said this many times that on line 82, it is made very clear that the SEC is well aware of the deep details that Ripple also undertook to achieve its goal of widespread adoption, which they are claiming they did, right, of XRP by exchanging XRP for non-cash considerations. Now, Greg's deal was a cash consideration. He put up cash for $1 billion option at the time, right? So now this is talking about non-cash consideration for such as labor and market making services. Basically, if you have a currency, you want to incentivize other market makers around the world in different industries to use it, you would start by using what they call seigniorage to incentivize that market maker to use your new solution versus the old solution. And any difference that that new market maker would suffer because they're using the new one, seigniorage would allow Ripple, the company, to rebate, if you will, or cover the spread and difference of that agreement, that non-cash agreement. This is what I see as pre-allocation. The SEC is acknowledging here that Ripple has achieved its goal. So we don't just have a tech out here in the space. No. What we have for the first time ever in the digital asset space is a company behind the tech. And it's not an ICO. Just to be clear for anybody who's new, an ICO is a tokenized version of really a fundraise. That's not what Ripple did. Now, what I find interesting about this is let's listen to Jeremy Hogan, Legal Briefs. This guy is so amazing. I love when he puts out a video. I can feel my IQ going up every time I listen to him. Let me play this for you. It's just under 1 minute. And listen to this part of the defense and what Ripple is going for here. Just listen to this.
In the complaint is inappropriate in whole or part because the complaint fails to allege a reasonable likelihood of future violations by Ripple. Close quote. Future violations, future sales. So there it is. Ripple is addressing current and future sales of its escrowed XRP when it is asking for a fast determination by the judge, and then added in affirmative defense number 3 talking about any future sales because Ripple is going to move for summary judgment first as to its current and future XRP sales only and not the past sales, and they want to do it quickly.
There it is right there. So what we're talking about here is Ripple prefers to move for a summary judgment so they can get it established that we can move forward with future sales. And if they want to continue to negotiate and go over and hubbub the previous sales from previous years back to its inception, that's something that they're saying we can agree to continue to negotiate those sales and anything that happened there. But let's get back to business, right? All right. So That seems pretty obvious, right? But okay, so here's where I want to go here. So some of the what ifs are for me, because I believe a lot of this really comes down to the escrow. Now, obviously, Greg has an option that we know about, right? It's, and he holds that $1 billion float in the XRP. We're well aware of that. The what ifs is what happens to the escrow. By definition, escrow is a third party. I have said that if there is in fact a third party custodying the escrow, that I believe that would probably be PolySign, because that was created by David Schwartz and Arthur Brito. Not really too thin of a limb to stand on, but we don't know for a fact that PolySign is in fact the escrow account, where the escrow account is. We don't know that. I'm speculating, but it's a great what if. Number two, even if it's not under third-party escrow, the question really becomes, does Ripple remain the steward of the escrow releases? If this is in fact found to be currency and not a security, then in fact Ripple has created new money for the world to use, and according to line 82, the SEC is well aware that they have achieved widespread adoption through the suggested market-making services, non-cash consideration, right, labor, and all of this. They understand that there were other distributions as well that Ripple paid third parties to assist in its efforts to accomplish as widespread adoption of XRP as possible, to attempt to develop a use for XRP, which it has. Otherwise, why would the SEC be suing them at all? That, to me, is the point. The SEC and other agencies, I believe, in the back end here in these conversations, and the judge, Torres, and Annalisa Torres, I believe, understands fully why we are here today. We're here today because Ripple has achieved widespread adoption, and knowing that the real true price will be affected by the volume of these sophisticated financial institutions and central banks, for which we know have a private ledger built on top of the XRP open source technology. We know that that is a fact, Jack. And so does the SEC, and I guarantee you they know it to a greater degree than we know it. So it really comes down to the notion of understanding, what are they going to do about it? Because it's not just a widespread adoption, but this is also the first example of many examples are to come, where a company will create their self, and they will be a startup, turn into a company, right? Full-fledged company. They will offer private equity stock to the company, and then they will begin to create a payment protocol and a token to represent that. And that's why we need legal precedent on this case with Ripple. For those reasons, I really do believe. Here's another questioner that we need to look. So even if it's not under third party, as I said, with someone like PolySign, does Ripple remain the steward? The next thing is, if they do remain the steward of the XRP, does Ripple need to become a bank because they're handling money? If it's not a security, then it must be money or a commodity like oil, right? Do they need to get a banking license? I believe the answer is yes. And if that is true, and if Ripple becomes a bank, how perfect is it that Michael S. Barr, formerly of Ripple, is now being tapped to be the next Brian Brooks, the head of the Office of Comptroller of Currency? In fact, wouldn't Michael S. Barr be the perfect person to deal with the introduction of not just a new bank, but a new central bank? Because this bank is not like any other bank. It's a lender of last resort, because this bank has its own money. I don't know the answers to these things, but I think they're the questions we need to be asking. This case is much deeper than just whether XRP is an unregistered security. This case, to me, is about setting precedent for the entire digital asset space. That's where I'm at on this day. Before we get out of here, I wanted to let you know the nomination for the SEC Commission, Gary Gensler, on the books from March 11th, which was 2 days ago. Nothing happened, and this is the schedule for the Senate. And I just want to let you see the schedule title here so you can see it. This is the executive calendar for them. He is still on the calendar for March 15th. You can see in the upper left-hand corner here. Let's hope. I would have hoped that you could knock me over with a feather right now that he would have been confirmed on Friday, but in fact it didn't happen. So now we look to Monday or early next week for Gary Gensler's confirmation. And it will be very interesting to see if Gary Gensler really drops the case, comes in and says, you know what, the case is a mess, let's just drop it. And if he does drop it, does he build another case going a different way and pursue it that way? Or does he come in and provide the kind of leadership that the SEC is missing right now to get this resolved in a manner that not only lets Ripple go back to work, as Jeremy Hogan suggested, but do we see Gary Gensler come in and lead in a manner that not only does that, but actually delivers the kind of leadership that allows this entire digital asset space to take off, because we have the clarity we need for all of us. And I think that's where we really need to be. All right, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, and share with somebody you know. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. They are trusted, vetted links of products and services that I use each and every day. I'll catch you on the next one.